All right. Age of the Rock. Follows the kind of splice. Okay. See there. Six. Experimental with scientists for the. I see. Mm, okay. All right. Hey, how you doing? Can you hear me? Hello?
Hi,
Hey, Aaron, how you doing, man?
good.
That's good. Yeah, thank you for sending me your homework. That was good. I think we covered those. So I think for the rest of maybe like a few more weeks, so let's cover like just the practice. I think it'll be good.
Mhm. Yeah.
Because and then because for what I've been doing, I'm gonna give you the theory maybe like once I finish. Like I'm still pampering it right now. I think it'll
Mhm.
be good because then you'll see the practice. We start with the theory and now the practice, and then we'll get back to the theory. Before that though, before we start today, uh, uh for next week, I'm actually gonna I'm gonna email you guys, but I won't be. Is it okay if we just skip on Thursday? Sundays are still good. Just for next week,
For next
Thursday.
week?
Yeah, just for next week. Yeah, only Thursday, but Sundays are still good.
Oh, okay, yeah, I think
Okay.
so.
Okay. Yeah, it's I have a task on Thursday next week that I have to do. But this set Sunday and then next week Sunday and all the following Thursdays are still good. So
Mhm.
yeah, I'm thinking like I was looking at some of these. Did I forget if you mentioned that it was the grammar that you wanted to touch on more, but what about the reading? Are you good with the reading?
Um, Better than the grammar portion, I think.
Better than the grammar. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I was thinking maybe we can do grammar and maybe just like one session of reading, just to
Mm-hmm.
like go over it, and then the rest of it will be the math, calc, no calc.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I think it'll be good. I just wanted to get a gauge of like obviously now yeah with the grammar I think you're doing pretty well. So I think just more and more before the exam the better. Okay. So this one is actually the one that I sent you yesterday. So, have you had a chance to look at this?
I think I might have scanned over it.
Okay, good. Yeah, we're probably gonna be. It's exactly the same as last time. Hopefully, it won't be too short. Maybe we'll get to like half of it. So, we'll practice some of these, and then I think it'll be. It's kind of similar some of these questions. But there's just the nitty gritty, like especially like the flow, the rhetorical questions that always gets us. So let's just start. Okay. So you have this in front of you, right?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. So for number one, um, what is the sun?
C.
C. Okay. So how come you picked C and not D?
Well, I don't think it like directly like contradicts or makes it like weaker. It just wasn't really
Yep.
related.
Yeah. So this sentence right here doesn't really like undermine or contradict whatever is the main claim of the paragraph right here. So that's good. What about A and B?
I didn't really think it added an important detail or a
Okay.
transition because the next sentence is like an explanation of the one before it.
Yep. So yeah, it doesn't add transition. It doesn't add any support to the paragraph itself. So the final answer would be C. It's just it technically just it's a filler. It's something that shouldn't be there. Okay. What about two? I think that it's nice as the numbers actually match up this time. Okay.
D.
Okay, yeah. This is by context. It's just like I mean, these aren't hard words, but just by context, if you look at like swear, it's more like or even like vow. Uh, it's really it's not in context. When you're swearing to advance, it's really not the one because and you're not vowing anything. You're not giving something that can't be taken back. And then subscribe. There's no magazine here, so it doesn't subscribe anything. And I think the one that would make more sense is this guy because you're talking about this advancing in the field. So these models that they created, it gives or promises to advance. It's usually the one word in research when they're talking about something to explore, discover, promise. Those are the words. Conduct, but you never see swear. Swear is more like a fiction, and then vow as well. And subscribe is for like magazines or whatever it may be, which is not the case here. Okay, what about three?
Hmm.
Yeah, so these are the rhetoric ones. Which one?
B.
B?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's B. How come not A?
It didn't really explain that.
So yeah, this right here, what they're trying to explain that seems like it would be this, but it's actually not. So that's wrong. What about these two, C and D?
Um, it didn't contradict the passage's information, and I don't think it created confusion either.
Yeah. So no contradiction, no confusion, and because of that, it would be B. So yeah, like just like eliminating those ones. Sometimes it's obvious, some of them. Other times it's not. Like we've seen those where like you have to pick between two, and that one is just if you run out of time, place your bet on one. If it doesn't, like if one doesn't really like out of grammar, because there's the more difficult ones is the one where it's rhetorical and a grammar question as well. I haven't seen one yet for this one. Okay, four.
C.
C. Okay, how come? This is a grammar one.
Because you need a dependent clause for the second one,
So this is
and
independent, yeah.
this and that create a comma splice.
Yes, yeah, good terminology, yeah. This and that creates a comma splice. And it could have been if to solve that you could have used like a semicolon or a colon because this is a independent. Good. So five. Oh yeah, you have this to learn. We'll cover this next time. The to learn one where when it's used, when it's not used.
A.
A. Yeah, that's good. So for this one, how come not B, C, or D?
It didn't sound right.
Yeah, usually the gut feeling tells you that. Yeah. To just break it down, the B and D, this guy right here, the B and D, uh, this for learning and then to learn. This to learn is an infinitive verbal, because to be or not to be. That's like a infinitive verbal, where you're creating a noun or like something out of that's a gerund or the other guy. And then this for learning is the wrong prepositional. For what? You're not doing this for them. It's to, and then C itself is this one right here, that one. It's not the right pronoun for team. So it's not this guy. It's not that guy. So it must be A. So that's good. 6.
C.
C. Okay. So this is another subject verb agreement. If you look at fossils right here, and then they're using its, so it can't be its. It has to be some plural version of that. It obviously can't be this constructive one. It is. That's still singular, and then this right here is like causing a possessive thing going on. It's preciousness, so it's not that. You can't replace it with that. And how come not C, and how come not D? But why is it C? Because these two technically get confused sometimes. But when do you ever use there with an ER?
Well, it was like possessive because it was like a quality that the fossils have.
Yeah. So this one right here, there, when you're using EIR, that's a possessive. And then there is a kind of like a preposition over there. It's telling you a direction. So since it's a possessive, its is a possessive. The counterpart plural possessive would be there, not its. Good. So number 7. Oh yeah, this is for sentence 2. So this guy.
C.
After sentence 4, after sentence 4. Okay, let's take a look at this. So where it is now, and it's like more like the transitioning for this, and it kind of like what is the before and after, because it's rhetorical. So it says but now, and this is talking about a contrast then, because it says but now. Some contrast to like now versus like maybe like in the past. So if you read this is going to talk about like now, but then let's kind of check if the previous is something about the past. So this doesn't look like it's right, so that's not about the past. About before sentence 1. You can't really like start a paragraph with like but now, because then you didn't really say anything beforehand, so that's totally a no. So it's between C or D. So let's take a look at 4. So 4 right here, it does talk about the past, so it's kind of like within the lines of like, okay, maybe that this is good. And then so what about 5? It says in many cases scientists had to rearrange bones virtually using ARC's renderings. This right here, when it's saying in many cases, it's kind of like an addition, kind of like a for instance. So it's 4 and 5. 4 and 5 are kind of like interlinked. They're connected. So you can't like, if you put like something in between them, it may break. It may be an interjection, or it may break the flow.
Mm-hmm.
So, because like 5 is kind of like for instance for 4. So the right answer would be D. It would be after sentence 5.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just one of those. Like, try to obviously eliminate them, and then if you have like an interjection, it often doesn't work. And for these, besides like looking at like the previous and then the subsequent sentence, you have to also take a look at transitioning. We already know that for the most part. It's that system is there, and when you look at in many cases, this usually means for instance, or like for example.
Yeah.
Okay, what about 8? And you have the paper, like, yeah.
Where D?
Yep. How come?
Because it gives an example of how they were using CT scanning and like 3D
Good.
printing.
Yep, that's good. Like, for instance, for example, those are the good ones. The thing is with just to go over it, when you look at by contrast and nonetheless, these are like transitioning words for something that's like contrary, like any or contrast, but if we compare the previous sentence with the next sentence, that's not the case because it's an example. An example is like really just like a support or an addition. But then again, like, let's compare that to besides. And besides is a support, but but then it's not really additional information. It's like stronger than that. It's more like for instance, for example. So these two can, you can see that, like, when you're saying besides, it's not really like an example. It's more like an added point. And when you have like, for example, for instance, it's more like a sub point and rather like an example. So as long as, yeah, you understand those transitions, I think you should be good. So yeah, that's why it's D. All right, 9.
B.
Okay, so this, when you're saying relied right here, it's the from you have to look at. So this is the grammar one. Where's the Doug? And determined. Where are they? Fossilize here. Fossilize. Can also. Where are they? Another person in there. Where's the? I'm looking for that word here. Oh, right here. Doug. And where's determined? Anyways, when removed. So all this has to be agreeing to this verb. So when you say like has relied, this is kind of like a past, like perfect, or actually no, present perfect. So happened in the past, still continuing, and by context, that's not really the case. And then this one right here, will rely. This is like future. By context, that's not the case here because of these words. And is relying. This is continuing, present, continuing. That's not the tense. So the only one that matches with these ones, fossilized, discovered, removed, and dug, would be the past tense. So it would be B. Okay, 10. Another one. So it combines the underlined sentence. So for the most, when you're doing this combining, it's grammar and rhetorical.
Okay. C.
Okay, why? So how come not these two?
Um, those like added, it wasn't like concise, and it was like wordy.
Okay, it's wordy, that's good. So wordy. And then like choppy, right? When if you don't have to put a semicolon, you shouldn't. Like this one, there's no semicolon. So if you don't have to, try to stay away from that. So not this one. Wordy. And what about this guy? Kind of similar, yeah?
Yeah.
So you have a semicolon. It's not bad grammar. Sometimes it is, always like independent, semicolon, independent. But then like if you have to choose between semicolon and we're just doing like a independent, comma dependent, or dependent, comma independent, whatever, then I'd rather choose the one where you don't have a semicolon. So it's C. 11. Oh, another one. Okay. So look for the subject.
C.
C?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is an easy one. Not he or she because it's singular. It definitely not third party singular. And then that one, every time you do that, we saw this one with the other guy as well. That one, it's very like ambiguous. Like so, you don't want to be doing something like that. But if you put they here, it matches with researchers. So that's good. All right, next passage, 12. Transitioning. These ones. This is a little bit tricky, but I think you get this one.
C.
Okay, so these ones a little bit tricky. Like let's try to assess this. If since this is rhetorical, it's more likely a more or less a transitional. So when you look at the previous sentence and then the next sentence and try to assess is it a contrast? Is it a is it like an addition or a support, whatever? And then sometimes there's even one, or the example one is another one, right? We saw those ones. And then there's even one where there is no transition. You don't really need one. These are usually called like sequential, or uh, or no transition, because there's no relation between the two sentences. So if you take a look at this as a result, the first one, this is more of like an addition. This is more like an addition. And then this one right here, therefore and furthermore. Um, this is like furthermore. Yeah, it looks like this one might be confusing with the furthermore. Therefore is more like a conclusion, and it is also a support, or because like after everything, this is what happened. And then for furthermore, it seems like this is a sequential, but if only if there's a relationship, if there's a relationship. But if you take a look at this guy and this one, it's just there's really no relation. So if you delete the underlined portion, it will still make sense. So this one is a little bit tricky because then it's either sequential and there is a relation, or there is no transition where there is no like, relationship. So for the most part, it's between maybe C or D. And you only would pick C if there's a relationship. In D, no transition because there is no relationship. So how do you think about this one? This one's a little weird, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because like you don't always have to put a word there. So that's why sometimes maybe that answer is like, oh, maybe I shouldn't pick that because like maybe you do have to put a word. So yeah, you may have to assess it, maybe go back to it, put a star on it. It's like it doesn't sound right if I put like furthermore. But if you're, it's all about like either you get it or you go back and it's like, oh, maybe it is delete the underline. So check those ones. Those are a little bit tricky. All right, let's look at 13. Oh, it's another combining, so that's good.
D.
Okay, so let's take a look at this one. Yeah, this is good. That's the one. So for A, I'm not like with this rhetorical one. There's also the grammar, and then like wordiness most times, and then transitioning, as well as like are you using the right punctuation? So what we have here is there's a they here, and then this they is kind of ambiguous whether like sometimes with pronouns you have to be clear what they're referring to, and they is kind of like, is it for the government or the organization? So we don't know, so it's not that one. And then so for B it's and C, B and C are kind of similar. Like for these ones, doesn't really make sense. They're out of context, and it's not really conveying the right info. So it's not that. And then this one, why is it this one? Because we're talking about the information here within this era in the 1860s and then 1870s, which are called these guys, political machines, stay in control of the secret. That's the main point. So you have to get the main point there, not let it get bogged down by the details. Okay. All right, 14.
A.
Okay, so votes. So why not these ones?
Z doesn't make sense, like the which it is.
Yeah, this one is not good. Which it is a form. Yeah, when it's saying it is right here, it's really bad grammar. What about B and C?
C, a comma splice.
Yeah, this one, when you put a that, like you don't really need a comma. And then yeah, what about this guy? It sounds awkward, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So usually, yeah, like the like which it is, and then this being thing, they're definitely no. And then this one, it could have worked, but there's a comma there. So, and then this is kind of like one of those like, is it essential or non-essential? And then like the one that a positive where a form of election fraud involving the money for votes. This is, I mean, it's not necessary, but they want to like just give more it modifies, it gives more description to the noun or subject. So you could have used that, and that would have been like, I think it's like essential. but in this case, this is not essential. You could have just taken it out. And so if you should put a comma there. So that's why A is correct. All right, 15.
D.
D. This one's a little confusing, but
B.
let's B.
Yeah.
Okay, B. Okay, good. Yeah, it is B. Let's try to assess it. So if you use a punctuation like this, let's just see what the sentence says: city in the 1860s and stole more than 30 million, the equivalent of more than 365 million today. If you put that there, so city in the 1860s, and then you have a comma right here. You need to pick one and not mix dashes with commas. So it's not this guy. Let's look at C. C's out doesn't make sense. You're putting a comma in like, I don't know why would you put that there? So that's bad. And then if you put D, let's see, cities in the 1860s stole more than 30 million. It seems like there's an interjection there. And if you look at the other one, if that were the case, city in the 1860s, no punctuation, stole more than $30 million. And then the next thing is the equivalent of more than 365. It's those are both, like if you look at it, the equivalent of more than, that's an independent clause. And if you read cities in the 1860s, and then you say the comma that stole more than 30 million, the equivalent of more than 365. So it can't be this one because it doesn't make sense when you don't put a punctuation in between. And it can't be this one because the comma, between city and in doesn't make sense. And it can't be this one, the dash, because you can't mix commas and dashes. So the only thing left is adding an actual comma to sandwich the phrase in between. So it's B. All right, 16. This is kind of similar to the other one.
C.
Yeah. So very similar, right? So it can't be D because there is no undermining going on. And then this A and B, it shouldn't be kept because it's kind of like an interjection. In between like the previous sentence and then the next sentence. So if it's an interjection, you shouldn't keep it. No, don't keep. Okay, 17.
C.
B.
C.
B as in boy.
No, C.
Oh, C. Okay. Yeah. C is the right one. How come?
Because the rest of the commas in B were unnecessary. But you need a comma before you introduce a quote.
Yep. Before you introduce a quote, either a comma or a colon, right?
Yeah.
So but there is none, so you don't have to pick between that. And if this one is just like, yeah, like putting commas everywhere wherever you want is not the right way to go. It should be before a quote. So good. What about 18?
A.
Okay. So how come not these ones?
It's like redundant.
Yeah, this thing and then these guys, this guy and that guy, they're pretty much the same. And then what about this one? This one is let me see, one of the artist's most famous, commonly known images showed now. This one doesn't look right. You don't need that there. So it's not this, it's not that, it's not that. So yeah, this is just an adjective modifying a noun in essence. And it's the shortest one, so so that's why that's the answer. Okay, 19.
D.
Okay, so let's try to look at these ones. So you have, so one of the artist's most famous images showed Tweed with a bag of money in place of his head, and that's the sentence. But what if you did A, say like, so like many other NAS cartoons that one must publish in Harper's Weekly. So it's not that one. This one just it's irrelevant. Um, and then for this guy, if you want to add a supporting thing in there, at least make it like relevant again. So, and then this guy for C, it says Tweedo bag of money in place of his head. One depiction that omits Tweed's signature hat. So it's like, not really related. So it's not that one. And if this one is an image that perfectly captured Tweed's greedy nature. So I think that one's the most relevant one. And it adds, it supports it. So, and then also the grammar is good with the punctuation. This is a non-essential. So putting a comma there would be good. Or you could have just put like had which an image or that an image. I think that wouldn't work in this case. But none of those are here, so this is the answer. Okay, 20. Oh, this is a word one, word and preposition.
D.
Yeah, so if you look at like persecuted, 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 this is the wrong word, right, in this case?
Yeah.
Yeah, because like when you're talking about charges, prosecuted would be the right one for a number of charges. This one's an easy one. So yeah, that's why it's D. 21.
A.
Okay, let's take a look at this one. So brought. So this is a subject verb one again. So if you take a look at escape and fled, escaped and fled, it should agree with the verb here. Or flow, escape, fled, and brought. If you're saying bringing, this is continuous. It's also not the main verb. So this is a no-no. And then brings, this is also a present tense. So it's not past tense like these guys. Has brought, this is present perfect. There's no has on the other ones. It's not this, it's not this. So it must be just brought. Okay. 22. Okay, so there's another word one.
B.
B, how come?
It like fits the context best, like a victory.
Okay, so culmination and apex is like, or let's look at pinnacle, because pinnacle is kind of like apex. It's at the top. Culmination is like, at the end of things. So let's see the context. In 1875, Tweed escaped from jail and fled to Spain and unwittingly brought about one final pinnacle for the power of political cartoons. One final culmination, one final apex. Kind of sounds not right, but if you put in one final triumph for the power of political cartoons. So this triumph is actually it's victory, right, on something. And then what is that victory? It's like more of like the political cartoons that this guy recaptured, right? Because he was recognized as a mass cartoon. So finally, that was like, I mean, kind of like pinnacle is more of like climax, apex are not the right words here. It's in terms of context, you really have to, if there's like, for example, this apex and pinnacle, if there's something that's similar, it's probably not those. So you have to find something, and culmination is kind of like similar as well. You have to find the one that's an oddball,
Mm-hmm.
and then which is this triumph. It's not the same as a pinnacle, culmination, or apex, right? Then this is more like from this you overcame this. This is like an overcoming, which is not the same as pinnacle, culmination, and apex. So it's the oddball. And since it's the oddball, it must be the one because you can't pick more than one. So that's the one. All right, we're on the third one. 23.
B.
Okay, let's look at this. So it's right here. And then, so this one is a constructive. It is best. At it is best doesn't sound right, so it's not that guy. And really, this isn't even. I don't think you can even do this one. So, and then there would be. It's kind of like it's, but this is the plural version, right? This is the plural plural of its. So you have to look at its best, the system, not the systems. So it must be this guy because it has to be possessive and it has to be singular. So that's the one. All right, 24. And combining, these are good ones. Yeah, so this one may be a little tricky, but I think, yeah, look at the punctuations. And then like the same with the one where less is more, less edits is also better.
B.
B as in boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Yeah, it's actually the one with the less edits. The only thing that's changed is this guy. So these ones, they're really like reconstructing. Sometimes when you reconstruct and add transitions, all these adjectives, conjunctive adjective, that you tend to like misconstrue or make this sentence not make sense anymore. So it's not these ones, it's not this one, it's not this one. So an obscure method, let me see this one. An obscure method, an idea that is an obscure method. It just sounds awkward if you do this. And then this one may be made available to many low expense. And the idea is obviously very attractive. This you're switching the order, so that for the most part you don't want to do that. So less is more, and then also the context and grammar. So yeah, that's why it's B. 25. Transitioning. Okay. In this one, you got to look at the oddball.
A.
Yeah. So what do these guys have in common?
It's like leading. It's like a continuation of something.
It's addition, right? Or supporting. Addition, therefore, like it's positive relationship or supporting. But if you use however, this is the one that's an oddball. It's a contrast. And then yeah, the context also support that. This is in contrast with this guy. So that's why it's A. Okay, 26.
B.
Yeah. So we kind of talked about these ones. How come B?
It's grammatically correct
But why?
because it's a independent clause.
Okay, so this thing right here, that is easily understood and appreciated. Like you have this that, right? And when you have a that, usually you don't need a comma. No comma, so it's like essential. If you put a comma, it's a sandwich. It's like non-essential. But once you put a that, there's no comma anymore. And then like for C, when you put like a comma between before an and, what must follow after the and?
Independent clause.
A subject, right? Yeah. So if there's no subject here, that means this is kind of like a compound sentence, because then so compound sentence means you don't need a comma because this verb right here is relating back to the subject. And then so the same thing with like that non-essential and essential. I mean, yeah, you could say like work is supported, but like it seems like what kind of work? So I think you shouldn't put these guys like work that is easily understood is supported. So that's like yeah, B is the right one. 27.
D.
D, yeah. These are you're good with these ones. If you look at like C, there's nothing about this guy right here. This funding received, and then it shouldn't be added uh, at all because it's not relevant. So no non-relevance. So not this, not this, not this because this is not there by context. So it should be this. It shouldn't be added because it's an interjection. It kind of deters from the main idea. Okay, 28. And this is also the oddball. In essence, there are two of them, not the whole thing.
A.
Yeah, it's A. So if you look at like conversely and however, these are obviously opposite or like negative relationship. Opposite or negative. So it's not that. If you look at the previous and then the sentence itself next, it's positive, but it's not positive to the point of like a conclusion. Like when you do thus in conclusion, therefore, hence, these are like strong transitions. So anything after is going to be like the main thing due to all these supporting things. In this case, it looks like it's just, in addition, it's just audience may contain many free. So it's not this one. The other one was easier because all three of them were like related. This one, if you had to choose, it would be like in addition or thus, but it's not strong as thus. So it has to be this guy, which is like just a support. 29. This one's an easy one. This is like awkwardness.
C.
Yeah. So like if you look at like not making, if you did like okay, in addition, audiences may contain many free writers. Not making contributions sounds like it's off, and then this one right here is. So when you say like writers to not make contributions, infinitive, not the right words here. And if you say like no change, free writers, they did not make contributions. That's a comma splice. So you should do C, because then when you put who there, it's kind of like, it's not essential. So that's why you need to put a comma. So it does modify, if this who did not make contributions, it modifies the free writer. Audience may contain many free writers. It modifies the audiences, and I mean, yeah. So it should be that one, and then it's not essential. So that's why you need a comma. So let's see. All right, 30.
B.
Okay, how come?
Because it's plural.
Which one? Where's the subject?
People.
Good. Yeah. So people is plural, and when you say they love, yeah, that's good. And then people for the art loved by them doesn't sound right. It's like the objective. It's not subjective. And he or she, not right. And loved by him or her is kind of like that, the subjective form of it. And yeah, this is subjective. And then the only one that's or these are objective. The only one that's subjective is they love, and it's also agreeing with the subject, they. So that's correct. 31. Yeah, these are easy ones. Subject, verb, or like, you know, the flow of it.
B.
B. Let me see. So the subject here is playwright, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then if you take a look at B, let's see if playwright is singular or plural. By subduing the money that she used for her project is an altruistic donation. The playwright showed that. Let me see this one. The playwright showed that their work was limited to those who enjoy it. By subverting this presumption that money used for her project is an altruistic donation, the playwright showed. Yeah, this one's a little bit tricky because like what it is really looking at is this guy, her. The flow is the same as her. So her work, not their work, showed that the playwright showed that her work, right?
Yeah.
It's her thing, not the playwright's thing, and then her is singular, so it's not there. And when you put it's, this is like third party. There's no third party here. It's work. This is not the right one. So it has to be an R if you put like no change. That's more like a first person thing. So this is third person, her. So it's this one. So with those, yeah, it's just like you gotta just review like that first person, second person, third person, and then also flow of like pronouns. Like for this one, especially this one, if you did take a look at playwright is just the other person, and it's the pronoun is not referring to that, but the actual, her person here at 32. Okay, so sentence two, or so it's talking about this guy. Rhetoric.
A.
Okay, so this one's a little bit tricky. I'll just say, since we're cutting short on time, it has to be D. The reason why is like 3, 4, and 5. That this is like a sequential thing. Like if you read them, they're saying something about how the price of tickets was determined for these guys sequentially. But then sentence 2, this guy, it mentions that the high price of the of the playwright's tickets is. So it makes more sense you talk about how the price is determined, and you tell them the actual price, the amount and magnitude of it. So it can't be this guy. It has to be 3. You can't interrupt 3 or 4 because they're sequential to up to 5. So it has to be after 5. All right. So yeah, for the rest of these, I think we pretty much went for most of them, more than half. So yeah, that cuts it. I'll still give you homework for Sunday, and then I'll obviously like next week Thursday. But yeah, I'll email you guys, and then like, yeah, let me know. I'm hoping to get the theory in like maybe sometime after next week.
Yeah.
But yeah, have a good week, and then I'll see you on Sunday.
You too.
All right, man.